ऐसे थोड़ा ही नहीं होता.
May I enter?
Come,
Good morning, sirs.
Yogesh, sit down. We had detailed interactions a few days ago
Yes, sir.
online.
Yes, sir.
Right? IDES.
Yes, sir.
So, tell us about Agniveer.
Sir,
Relevance, necessity, deficiencies.
Sir, its relevance stems from the immense security challenges that India faces, sir. The need for a cost-efficient, dynamic, and nimble force that is able to adapt at a faster scale to the challenges. So the necessity also stems from pretty much the same thing, sir. But the fundamental idea being that if you have only 25% to 30% selection rate from a huge cadre that you select, you would have more competition, you would have more equipment specialization, and you would have lesser burden on the MOD, the revenue expenditure that it makes, sir. That's the fundamental idea behind Agniveer scheme, sir.
You use the word nimble and some other words.
Yes, sir.
How does it make the forces more nimble?
Yes, sir. I am currently the Chief Executive Officer of Subatu, sir. Subatu is a very old Gurkha training center established long back in 1800s, sir. So I've spoken to some officers there. While broadly they do not favor the scheme because it breaks away from tradition, but the points that they highlight and support, what they state is that there's more competition to be in that 25%, 30% cohort.
I would tend to think that it would create more sycophancy rather than competition.
That's an element that I haven't considered yet, sir. But if I am to apply my mind there, sir, I think the dangers of an Agniveer scheme based on strict merit, I do not think it would fall as so much into sycophancy than the problem. I think the problem is with tradition, and it breaks away from tradition. Our recruiting zone, which is Nepal, sir.
So breaking away from tradition should be the norm.
No, sir, it should not be the norm. I think tradition.
Just for the simple purpose of breaking away, one should break away from traditions.
I think, sir, the tradition of Naam Nishan Namak, on which army operates, sir, is a very critical one to the armed forces.
This doesn't support that Naam Nishan Namak scheme.
Yes, sir. So there is a.
What about the training deficiencies?
Yes, sir.
Especially with the support arms and Air Force and Navy, where a lot of technical inputs are required.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's one of the considerations raised by the forces also.
Right. Yogesh, you are already in job.
Yes, sir.
And you belong to the this reserve category.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you are this taking the reservation.
Yes, sir.
So the subcategorization of
Yes,
the SC, the Supreme Court, with the long debate is going on.
Yes, sir.
What is this?
So the Honorable Supreme Court in the very famous Chennai judgment, based on a case study in Andhra Pradesh in 2004, ruled that subcategorization, as it was done, four-way subcategorization in Andhra Pradesh, could not be proceeded with an all India level, sir. So the fundamental idea being that you could not make a
What the High Court has given order at that time.
Sir, I do not recall the order of the High Court.
Then how the case this come into the Supreme Court? Because you have started from Andhra.
Yes, sir. I think it was a petition.
Subcategorization was in Haryana also. They have done now.
Yes, sir. There was an attempt to.
They have given 50% reservation to two communities.
Yes, sir. So in Haryana, sir, there are 36 castes enumerated in the constitution, sir. So the argument was that one caste, which makes up 50% of the population of scheduled caste, was cornering most of the benefits that are provided by reservation, both in education and in jobs, sir. And hence I think the Punjab and Haryana High Court itself had deemed that it's time that these reservations.
After that, the Supreme Court has already given the stamp,
Yes, sir.
5 judge.
Yes, sir.
Are you sure?
Sir,
Not sure.
no, sir. I think the matter had to go to a 7-bench,
Why 7 bench?
because I think the Honorable Supreme Court in Chennai's judgment was a 5-judge constitutional bench that had decreed that subcategorization could not be done. Although I'm not familiar with the specifics of the judgment, sir, but broadly I remember that the Honorable Supreme Court did not allow subcategorization in that case, sir.
Why?
So I vaguely remember from my college, but I would not like to guess because I'm
What
not
is different between Article 16(4) and 329?
So I do not recall the exact Article 329 at this point.
And the reservation is given under the backward class. The scheduled caste reservation is giving under the backward. 16(4) is
Yes.
telling na, any backward class can be.
Yes, sir. Sir, I think the word scheduled caste is mentioned in the constitution. I think it.
But in 16(4), the scheduled caste is not mentioned,
mentioned.
only backward mentioned. So what is different between backward caste and scheduled caste?
Sir,
Where this word has come?
sir, technically, scheduled castes are just the castes that are enumerated in a schedule. I think under Article 341 of the Constitution. I could be wrong there, sir. Under Article 341, that's a schedule of castes prepared before independence, sir. And I think backward castes, I think, are enumerated by the National Commission for Backward.
Why the Baba Sahib is, Constituent Assembly, they have put this 16(4) and especially given the backward class.
Yes, sir. Sir, I think it is to allow for the possibility of the Union Executive expanding the ambit of reservation to any castes that are not already enumerated in the schedule list, sir.
Then why they are talking about subcategorization when scheduled caste?
Yes.
Because if you are sure regarding 16(4) that the subcategorization was for this backward community, and the scheduled caste were already in was given the reservation.
Sorry, sir, I could not understand, sir.
Do you think? Do you remember that why the Baba Sahib, Ms. Ambedkar, has got the 3 things they got from before partition, before this independent Golmech conference when he went there?
Yes, sir. Sir,
What was 3 things?
so one, sir, an appreciated number of seats in the central legislature, for depressed classes, as it was mentioned.
What they use the sentence at that time? Depressed class.
Yes.
I mean scheduled caste.
Yes, sir.
At that time, the scheduled caste first come into the picture,
Yes, sir.
and they have given the reservation.
All right, sir.
They take the reservation. And second,
Sir,
political reservation.
yes, sir, in the central legislature and state legislatures.
And third, I don't remember.
Yes, sir.
So, do you think that the subcategorization should be given and the reservation should be given this scheduled caste candidate when they have already taken the reservation?
Sir, in my limited understanding, sir, I think a more plausible way forward could have been exclusion of individuals that have already availed reservation at least once, or have attained a certain level of prosperity from the category, sir. That would allow, I think, a more equitable access to government jobs and education to all individuals within the
Under
category.
which rule?
No, sir, it's not under any rule that I propose. It's a principle that I think.
Because you have to follow the constitution. No?
Indeed, sir, indeed.
So there is given in the constitution.
No, sir, it does not allow for that, sir.
Okay.
Sir, but I think, sir, it was not provided in the constitution that creamy layer would be outlawed from the OBC category either, sir. I think it was via a Supreme Court judgment. So, sir, I think the interpretation of the Honorable Supreme Court is deemed to be part of the.
What do you mean by socially, educationally, and socially? What do you mean by socially educational
Sir, social
and social economical?
Yes, sir.
What is difference between this?
Yes, sir. Sir, it plays on the clear distinction between an individual being socially backward and educationally backward.
Who is socially backward and who is socially economically backward?
Yes, sir. So, socially backward would be someone who has been historically discriminated against in the current setup of society, sir. It draws in from the medieval hierarchical structure that we had in the societies. This definition only applies in the Indian context, sir. In the American context, it would change, sir. And sir, economically backward would be an individual not necessarily socially backward, not necessarily discriminated against in at a historical.
So the creamy layer formula, how you? I mean, according to you.
Yes, sir. No, sir. Indeed, sir. The Honorable Supreme Court.
They were already backward for so many years.
Yes.
So can you, because they are not economically, economically formula was not there.
Yes, sir. No, indeed, sir. And I think your argument resonates the words of the Honorable Supreme Court and multiple judgments also. That you cannot take away the sting of social discrimination by economic empowerment standalone, sir. However, sir, I take a more principal view of the Indian polity, sir. What's the rationale behind the reservations beyond social justice, sir? It's representation. It's that the destiny of this nation would be written by all communities sitting together, that every community gets a share when common elements of polity are being discussed.
The Bharat Ratna given to who has been given the Bharat Ratna when he was charged with the corruption and all these cases. Do you think that it is proper to give the Bharat Ratna?
So I think the late Honorable Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao deserves all the praise in the world for the sheer fact that he was the Prime Minister of the country and the reforms that he can.
That's why he should be given the Bharat Ratna.
And
means what should be the criteria of the Bharat Ratna?
Sir, I think the recommendations for Bharat Ratna are made by the Honorable Prime Minister without, I'm not sure if he's required to provide that.
Committee, that is not by Prime Minister, that is a committee.
All right, sir. I think the committee recommends to the Prime Minister and the Prime Minister sort of recommends to the Honorable President.
He was charged this corruption, the case was going on against him.
Indeed, sir. However, sir, I still think that owing to the magnanimity of the contributions that
what was the major achievement of the Narasimha Rao government?
Sir, sir, I think it would be the insulation that the Honorable late Prime Minister provided to the Finance Minister, the political insulation that was provided to the Honorable Finance Minister at that time, Manmohan Singh, to carry out legacy reforms in opening up of the Indian economy, sir. I think that one critical addition mattered a lot to the Indian economy and Indian polity as a whole at that time.
So what was this economic reform at that time, and what do you know about the liberalization? Why this is called liberalization of the economy?
Yes, sir. So the LPG reforms, the liberalization, privatization, I do not recall the G, sir. But the fundamental idea was opening up of the economy and liberalization of the license charge, so that manufacturing of any product did not require a license to the same degree as it needed to. There are still licenses needed in some critical strategic sectors, but broadly licenses were done away with. And quotas, the manufacturing quotas, that an individual entity could only manufacture a certain.
The quota system has been abolished, do you think? And the single window system has been started. If you want to go to start any industry, so that the business is out.
No, sir. The business climate in the country, although it has undergone significant improvement, sir, it does remain. Sir, for example, the number of days required to start a new business has significantly come down, sir. It used to be, I think, around a year earlier, sir. Now I think it has reduced halfway mark. Sir, I'm not sure of the numbers. I studied them in long time back. But when I was accessing loans, although the credibility of repayment of those loans was still under doubt.
No, no, to tell about the loan.
Yes, sir. Sir, it is easier now to access for MSMEs to access loans, sir. Then, sir, there have been in some states labor reforms have happened. Highway firing, although that has other connotations also, sir. But it's easier for industries to
What was your license, Raj, during that?
license.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yogesh,
Yes, sir.
you got good marks in 10th and there was a significant drop in 12th.
Yes, sir.
Can you explain that? Why is it so?
Yes, sir. Sir, in 11th and 12th, I started playing football more actively, sir. I wanted to be a professional footballer, sir. So, a huge part of that 11th and 12th standard was basically spent playing football, sir. So, I could not dedicate as much time and attention to my
What happened
studies.
to your passion for football then?
Yes, sir.
Are you a person who easily, compromises with your passion?
So, the reason at the time for not pursuing it as gravitously was the fact that I incurred a ligament tear, sir, in my right knee, sir, while playing football. Sir, I think for a boy in 12th standard, there's not a lot of clarity in life for what one wants to be. I think that clarity is only attained at a certain age, sir. And I think I'll keep learning about the veracity of my passion, sir. But at that time, I think after the ligament tear, I sort of decided that I need to focus on other avenues. Studies are as important, sir.
Right. Do you think that the basic structure doctrine has strengthened our democracy? Or has it empowered the Supreme Court at the cost of the Parliament, which is the highest representative body? So what are your views on that?
Sir, I think it's a bit of both, sir. So it has definitely provided a safety valve for the Constitution, sir.
How?
Enunciated by, sorry, sir.
How?
So it's provided a bit of a check against executive high-handedness, if the circumstances so arise, sir. I think its power could be understood or enunciated by many African Supreme Courts taking up the basic structure approach, and the recent decision of the Israeli Supreme Court in Netanyahu.
That's a different story altogether.
Yes, sir.
Just focus on the importance of basic structure doctrine. See, there are criticism that the basic structure doctrine is nowhere written in the Constitution. It is a result of judicial innovation, and it sort of it is not clearly defined. Supreme Court has never defined what exactly. So anything over a period of time, everything will be a part of basic structure doctrine, and then the Constitution won't be able to be amended. So in that context, tell us about the basic structure doctrine.
Indeed, sir.
Do you think that it is relevant?
So it would be my humble submission, sir, that the basic structure of any constitution is always there. There is an unalterable part in the constitution, irrespective of whether the judiciary enunciates it or not, sir. However, sir, I agree to the limited point that the Honorable Supreme Court has not defined as to what exactly are those basic characteristics of the constitution that could not be amended, which I think is manifestly arbitrary. So there has to be a core and essence of the constitution, and the Honorable Supreme Court is well within its powers to provide for a list, but I think it should not be left open-ended, because then any amendment by the executive would be by the parliament would be challenged on the basic structure grounds, sir. Particularly, I think, sir, if I may add, sir, so the NJC judgment, sir, I think it was fair. In my opinion, it was a fair amendment that allowed for a collaborative partnership of the executive and the judiciary. And I
No,
think
it was not fair. It gave executive advantage over the judiciary.
yes, sir.
So how can you say that it was fair?
Yes, sir.
Being a law student, I think
Yes, sir.
you should think about it. Anyways, since you are a law student, who is your favorite lawyer, or the lawyer who impressed you the most in the past? You can. It's not necessarily that a person should be alive. You can any lawyer who has impressed you a lot.
Sir, I have heard Mr. Salve's arguments in front of the International Court of Justice, sir.
Harish Salve.
Yes, sir. And it was fairly impressive for an individual to cogently put forward his arguments, sir. It was quite impressive to me.
Do you know Nani Palkhiwala?
Indeed, sir.
What was his contribution?
Sir, he was...
Jurisprudence.
Yes, sir. Sir, I might not be aware of the specific contribution that Mr. Palkhiwala made. So, although while we were going over the constitution in our college, sir, every other slide would have a comment by Mr. Palkhiwala about, for example, he very famously proclaimed that there is no separation of powers in the Indian constitution. And those proclamations are with me, sir, but I do not remember his exact...
He was the one who pleaded on behalf of Keshwananda Bharati.
Oh, all right, sir.
Basic structure doctrine case. So I'll ask you the last question. There is one sentence, there is one quote by Oliver Goldsmith. How to explain that quote?
Yes, sir.
Law grinds the poor, while rich men rule the law. Explain this in the context of India and in the context of recommendation of Malimath Committee report.
Sir. So I think Mr. Goldsmith is alluding to the fact that with access to good lawyers, the rich in the country can mold the judicial process to their own advantage, and the poor, the people who find it difficult to access justice, especially through the tedious court system that we have, sir, are always on the receiving end of it, sir. Sir, I do not recall the recommendations of Justice Malimat at this point, sir. I would definitely go back and look up, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, Yogesh, let's continue with judiciary before I ask other questions. Give me answer with examples. What is judicial activism and what is judicial overreach?
Yes, sir. So judicial activism, I think, is an intrinsic part of the Constitution. Our Constitution creates one of the most active judiciaries, one of the most powerful judiciaries in the world, sir. We have comments from the Constituent Assembly implying it, that judiciary has to be at the vanguard of the march of fundamental rights in the country. So, sir, activism would be taking an active role in protection of fundamental rights, in ensuring rule of law, in ensuring separation of powers and protecting states' rights, sir. I think S.R. Bomai would be a good example or a case.
Judicial overreach?
Sir, overreach depends on the perspective, sir. So, for example, if a function that is clearly delineated as an executive or a legislative function, if that function is sort of taken over by the judiciary, although the interpretations vary, but that would amount to an overreach, sir. I think, for example, sir, the continuing mandamus on oxygen task force, where the judiciary ensures that oxygen cylinders reach individuals on time, would amount to judicial overreach, sir.
Okay, let me also ask you in 30 seconds, give me an answer about what do you think of Viksit Bharat 2047 vision, origins, targets, strategies, and whether it is possible.
Sir, I haven't had the time, sir. I'm sorry, sir. I haven't looked at the document in its entirety.
Sure. Let me ask you, since you come from army background, what is the division of national defense budget between 3 armed forces, and whether it is a fair or unfair division?
So broadly, I could only answer at a broad level, sir. I think Army takes a lion's share of the budget, with Air Force next, and Air Force primarily because of the large
Have you
scale.
looked at the percentages and whether there is a change in percentages?
No, sir. I haven't looked at the percentages, sir.
How would you differentiate between defense, security, safety?
So defense would amount to the physical hardware or the forces where they are placed. So that would amount to defense, sir. The forces at the border are part of our defense forces, sir. So security is a wholesale concept, often subject to a lot of interpretation, especially in the United Nations, sir. They've tried to incorporate environmental security. There's human security, the Palme Declaration. So security could be a wholesale concept from Barry Buzan's perspective, ranging from human security all the way to international security, sir. And I think, sir, safety is a subset of security, sir. What I think of when I think of safety is just the fire safety, sir, the safety at the swimming pool, that people should not drown, or could also be extrapolated to the safety of individuals on streets, for example, safety against crimes.